Hey guys, welcome back. Let's get into the charts. Thanks for subscribing. Hit that like button, you know the drill. All right, so what I wanted to do for this video was talk about a couple things that are kind of at play right now. We're really kind of in a holding pattern until this China press conference that they're going to do. So there's not a whole lot of action. The market's chopping up and down. So I want to point out kind of what I'm seeing and kind of the setup that I see. You know, oftentimes stock market, the market will set up for a major market moving event, and you'll see that in various sectors and indices, and you'll see it across the board how the market's just kind of like squeezed right into a little corner where it's got to basically move explosively one way or the other. And that's how it feels like things are right now. Let me show you guys what I'm seeing. First off, you know, they're doing this press conference on a Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. One thing that I know about markets, they often like to release bad news Friday afternoon. They don't release bad news or good news Friday afternoon right before the market's, you know, close to when the market's about to close. They like to do bad news. So that helps mitigate some of the damage, I believe. Or sometimes you'll see them release bad news Friday at like 5 p.m. So that it goes unnoticed is basically the concept here. So doesn't mean that this press conference is going to be bad, but the setup and the timing around that is interesting, and it does play into the possibility that it could be bad. Now looking at the charts, let's see how the charts are kind of anticipating something bad or set up for that. The SPY, look what's happening in the SPY. So we're selling off. We're kind of continuing the sell-off today as I roll out, but mostly sideways, not a whole lot, a little bit of sell-off. But look, here's your 200-day moving average sitting there at 299.76. And what I was saying, if I go to the monthly chart, is the fact that on the monthly, as I roll out this 200-day moving average, if we close the month, you know, basically at or below the 200-day moving average, it's essentially it essentially held as resistance on the monthly chart. So ultimately what that means is this is still set up for a bear market crash right here, which is what we had at the beginning of the year, and then a kickback rally, and then we continue the downward trend. And that's how that's set up. So it doesn't mean it has to play out that way, but oftentimes bear markets trade below the 200-day moving average. If I move out, you can see here's the last two bear markets. You can see we're on the monthly chart, we were below the 200-day moving average, and we would do kickback rallies, but the months would still close oftentimes below the 200-day moving average. And then when you're in a bull market, you're trading above the 200-day moving average. So the thing is that you have to basically, you know, you have to look at this and say, okay, is this literally just a false breakdown on the monthly chart of the 200-day moving average and we're going to snap back and recover it? Or is this going to be a bear market and then a bear market rally, and then we continue to trade below the 200-day moving average? So something to look out for. Also, you'll notice the 200-day moving average is starting to point down. So, you know, if we start to sell off here, then that will continue. The 200-day moving average is probably going to continue to carry the bear market down. So we're not out of the woods when it comes to the fact that this might still be a bear market rally. I firmly believe that it is. I see a lot of signs that it is, but that's just something I want to point out. You're basically right there. There looks like they're going to wait till the conference and then something's going to happen. It's either going to be positive news or negative news. If it's negative and they tank the market into the close, then that's going to be a failure of the 200-day moving average on the SPY. That's a simple moving average. And so that would be pretty bearish. That would close the month below the 200-day moving average. And sorry, I have to jump around here, but going back to the month, the reason why this would be more bearish than anything is, if I zoom in here on the monthly chart, if we close below the 200-day moving average, then let me get rid of this little line right here, then it's bearish, because you can see intra-month we overshot that. We were all the way up here around 307 on the SPY intra-month, and then if we end up failing and closing the day below, or closing the month below, then that's a false breakout basically, and that just shows the 200-day moving average is still holding as resistance. So if that happens, probably going to set us up for the next month to be a bearish month. So just keep that in mind as we get close to this conference. Let's look at the Qs, and then we'll glance at the Russell 2000, and then probably wrap it up. So here's the Qs. Look, just trading sideways. This trend line right here, 229.63, that's your gap going all the way back here. So we're just right there at gap. You know, it's basically gap support. So this is kind of the support line. Do we break the support in the triple Qs, or do we hold? You know, well, again, this is just set up for this press conference. The market's not really going to go anywhere. You can see it doesn't want to go. It's just popping up and down. We might break down early in anticipation of negative news, but you know, for the most part, I see the market kind of just staying here until this conference. And so, yeah, we have to watch for that. Now, if we sell off hard and we come all the way down to this support line right here at 226, that's your price channel. And if we break that into the close, say we close the day below, maybe down around 223.56, which would be gap support here, then, you know, that would be a break of this upward price channel. So there's all kinds of setups. We don't know what's going to happen, but I'm just trying to point out that it's set up to make a move. The market's waiting for this conference, and I think we're going to get some movement after it. Oh, I did want to point out XLF, the financial sector. This latest rally that we had, where we had the 2 days of 500-point Dow up days, was primarily due to the financials. So we want to keep an eye on this. And you can see that the financials, here's your resistance right here. Oh, and we also have this gap right here. See this gap, 24.15? Look what we did when we entered the gap right here. We popped and started to enter the gap, and then it failed. So I think it opened the day there, and we instantly sold off, and have since sold back below this resistance as well, 23.65. So I would say that's a false breakout. We'll see where this continues to go, but at this point, it is a false breakout. We broke higher and failed back below resistance. So, you know, when you enter the gap, usually you'll fill, but if you don't fill and you instantly fail, that's pretty bearish. So, okay, so let's look at IWM here. IWM on the daily chart, you've got a gap right here. So you have resistance basically at 142.70, and you've got support at 134, about 135 basically. And so what do? We ran up, filled the gap, overshot it slightly, but look, it held as resistance, because you can see that intraday you overshot it, but you still closed the day back below that gap. So that was a rejection at resistance. We're heading back down to support. So we'll have to see what happens here. We have support at 135, and then we also have this uptrend line right here. That should be some sort of support too. So ultimately, you'll want to see a breakdown of this uptrend line before this is any kind of trade. But again, you could look at different support and resistance levels and take a position based on that. I'm not going to be trading this one right now, but it's important to watch, and I wanted to point it out. So that's really all I see. Anyways, want to get the video out. Thanks, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I'll catch you guys later. If anything happens that's crazy after the news conference, I'll probably put out an end of the day video. Otherwise, we'll take it back up next week. Thanks. Take care.